In China, a massive tornado destroys residential homes.
Rescuers rushed 13 people to the hospital after sustaining injuries. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
And I am Nina Brichielago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Marcos administration launches eGov.ph super app. Philippines to host 2024 Forbes Asia Forum. Pyongyang rejects Washington's view over satellite launch. United States and Taiwan inks new trade deals. And Elon Musk reclaims title as the world's richest. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. witnesses the launching of the new eGov Super App during the celebration of National ICT Month. Madeline Villar-Moratillo reports.
1, 2, 3. The Philippines in one single app. Conveniently access government service online. Avoid long lines, face-to-face, and paper-based transactions.
The Department of Information and Communications Technology receives praise as its goal to improve the e-governance system has come to fruition. As part of the kick-off ceremony of National ICT Month, the eGov.ph Super App was officially launched to offer convenience to Filipino people by integrating all government online services into one platform.
Our government must keep up with that frantic pace, and it is frantic, and facilitate the rapid development of our interconnectivity infrastructure to allow our economy to ride the wave and open up an ocean of opportunities for prosperity.
The public can easily sign up for the eGov Super App. There are 3 simple steps to follow. First, download the app through the App Store or Google Play on your cell phone. Second, install the eGov app. And third, register an account. The registrant must make sure that the requested information such as mobile number, basic information, and Face ID is correct for the registration to be pushed through. The eGov.ph Super App is part of the Marcos administration's digitalization program.
And that includes all the attendant issues of cybersecurity, the attendant issues of having a cloud that belongs to the country, the issues of that we are beginning to resolve on the single ID for all citizens of the Philippines. And all of these must come together in a way that is useful and easy and convenient for the ordinary Filipino citizen.
The President supports the use of PalengQR.ph Plus and recommends intensified education for farmers, fishermen, and MSMEs regarding the use of e-wallets and other digital payment apps. The Private Sector Advisory Council also awaits the finalization of the National Cybersecurity Plan 2023-2028 and the use of the Connectivity Index rating system. The President assures that his administration will further expand internet services to remote areas so that the public can easily transact using their smartphones and other gadgets.
And I said, I always worry about the capacity of the Filipino to take on these new technologies. And thus far, I've always been wrong. There has never been a problem for Filipinos to take up these new technologies. They pick it up, well, more quickly than... Well, we are a young country, and young people do simply have a affinity for the new tech because it's something that they can live with, that they have lived with. They cannot imagine a world without Wi-Fi.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Madeline Villar-Moratillo reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signs Executive Order Number 29 to reinforce transparency in all government transactions. Mark Tapel reports.
Executive Order Number 29 mandates the implementation of Integrated Financial Management Information System or IFMIS. According to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the adaptation of IFMIS in all government agencies will improve Treasury cash management. The President notes that the administration is committed to improving bureaucratic efficiency by means of capitalizing on digitalization initiatives. President Marcos also orders the creation of Public Financial Management Committee that will lead to the further progress and implementation of reforms. The Committee of Representatives will come from the Departments of Budget and Management, Finance, Commission on Audit, and the Bureau of Treasury. The said committee is tasked to conduct policy and process reviews in key areas of public financial management. Mark Tapel, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Pimentel calls on President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to veto the Maharlika Investment Fund bill. Randy Bernardino has the report.
According to Senator Coco Pimentel, the current form of the Maharlika Investment Fund bill is not acceptable. The senator claims that the bill should be given more time to be thoroughly discussed in Congress. He adds that there are more things that should be placed in the proposal. Pimentel notes Senator Cheese Escudero's claims that the establishment of Maharlika Investment Corporation under MIF does not pass the economic viability test. The senator clarifies that in Section 12 of the Constitution, any established government-owned and controlled corporation must first pass the economic viability test. He adds that there are many contradictions and loopholes in the legislation due to the bill's hasty approval. Pimentel refers to Sections 50 and 51 of the enrolled bill, which mandates different time limits on the prosecution of crimes or violations. The senator fears that it will go to crony capitalism, where benefits are received by those close to the government. Pimentel warns that when the president does not veto the proposal, there is a greater possibility that the Supreme Court will question the MIF. Senators Pimentel, Escudero, along with Amy Marcos, did not vote for the proposal. Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri admitted that the law may be blocked and its legality questioned in the Supreme Court. But he is certain that their proposal was thoroughly considered by legislators.
Alam mo, lahat naman ng batas namin may nag-question paminsan-minsan sa Supreme Court. So I'm sure people will raise it, but I'm sure we can stand the test of judicial scrutiny by the Supreme Court.
Randy Bernardino for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has agreed to the Philippines' hosting of the Forbes Asia Forum in 2024. Eden Santos reports.
To attract more foreign investors, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. greenlights the hosting of the Forbes Asia Forum and Forbes Global CEO Conference in 2024. The conference brings together global CEOs, tycoons, investors, and trailblazers to discuss key issues of international concern. It is also a venue for countries and businesses to build new partnerships. Marcos hopes his administration can showcase the Philippines as it is now. He believes the country's biggest asset is the Filipino workforce. He says the Philippines has the youngest workforce in the region. He also praised the Filipino workers for being well-versed in English. This year's global conference will be held in September in Singapore. Visiting executives have invited the Philippines to take part in the exclusive conference. Marcos will join other leaders and business tycoons in the fireside chat. He says his administration has been focusing on propping up the economy and enticing more investments. These areas include digitalization, energy, connectivity, reforms, and infrastructure development. Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. orders the geo-mapping of all agricultural lands in the country to boost production. Marcos Jr. issues the directive in a meeting in Malacanang Palace with the Philippine Rice Industry Stakeholders Movement, or PRISM. PRISM raised their concerns to the president, including the high cost of production, limitations in market access, and capital investments. According to the president, the government is using geomapping to resolve the issues to boost agricultural production. PRISM is composed of a multi-sectoral group that aims to guard the interests of rice industry stakeholders.
The Department of Health said Pfizer's bivalent COVID-19 vaccines will be given as a third booster shot for individuals belonging to priority groups and the population's most vulnerable sectors. Martin Liachon reports.
The Department of Health, or DOH, has approved the use of Pfizer's bivalent COVID-19 vaccines as a third booster dose. The DOH says around 391,000 doses of bivalent COVID-19 jabs are expected to arrive this month. Bivalent vaccines are an Omicron-specific vaccine. DOH officer in charge, Maria Rosario Vergere, says the booster rollout will follow a phased approach. She explains during Phase 1, Pfizer's bivalent vaccine will be given as a third booster dose for individuals age 18 years old and above. Phase 1 will also include those who belong to Priority Group A1 or healthcare workers, and Priority Group A2 or senior citizens who were inoculated with a second booster dose at least 4 to 6 months prior. Most netizens express positive sentiments about the bivalent vaccines.
Okay lang, willing naman ako dahil nung nabakuna ako ng naka-4 times na ako kasama yung booster, okay naman ako eh.
Okay lang sa'yo?
Oo, sinabi nung sa radyo, epektibo naman daw, why not, di ba? Libre naman.
Kung nakakabuti naman po sa atin, di willing po. Kung ano po yung nakakabuti sa atin.
Opo, gawa ng para mas added yung protection nyo po, para sure po yung protection nyo against the virus.
Para sa safety na rin ng pamilya ko.
Depende po kasi wala pa ako nakikita masyadong studies or masyadong kumukuha po nito. So kung maging positive po yung sabi ng mga tao tungkol dito, then definitely ko-consider ko siya.
The succeeding phase will be made available to other population groups subject to availability of COVID bivalent vaccine stocks. Vergere says bivalent vaccines are not available to those who did not get their second boosters. DOH data shows that a total of 674,471 individuals belonging to the A1 population have reached their second booster shot. Meanwhile, 970,020 Filipinos belonging to the A2 group have completed their second booster dose. The DOH logged 1,537 new COVID cases, 0 deaths, and 957 recoveries nationwide. Okta Research said the COVID-19 positivity rate in the National Capital Region went down to a moderate level on Tuesday at 19.9%. Martin Liachon reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The buoys placed by the Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, still remain in the West Philippine Sea. According to PCG spokesperson Commodore J. Tariela, the 10 buoys they left were still in the place where they were deployed. PCG dropped the buoys in areas near the Patag Island, Balagtas Reef, Kota Island, Panata Island, and Juan Felipe Reef. According to PCG, the buoys have the Philippine flag attached to them, showing that the area is under the jurisdiction of the country's exclusive economic zone. This shows the country strengthened its presence in the contested territory in the West Philippine Sea.
Coming up, Russia vows to develop oil markets with South African countries. US and UK set limits for Ukraine-Russia conflict. And Zimbabwe's parliament has approved a controversial law. Stay tuned for more stories around the globe when we return.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart, Arlex Trading and Construction Supplies.
Sama-sama tayong nakikanta, nakipagsaya at nakipag-summer blast. Maraming salamat sa higit na 120,000 na taong nakasama namin. Walang kapantayang energy at init ng suporta na ipinaramdam ninyong lahat sa amin. Hindi rin matatawaran ang galing ng mga performers na nagpasiklab sa isa sa pinakamasasayang gabi dito sa Philippine Sports Stadium. Taos-puso ang pasasalamat namin.
Let's always net together, mga Kanet 25.
Sa susunod na Summer Blast.
Catch the special TV airing on June 10 and June 11, 2023. Follow our social media pages for more updates.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Sudanese Army forces blasted paramilitary bases with artillery in Khartoum. They also announced that they were pulling out of the United States and Saudi-brokered ceasefire talks, accusing their foes of failing to honor their commitments. Mediators have blamed both sides for violating the truce, which was supposed to enable secure corridors for delivering aid to an increasingly needy population. The attacks come 2 days after the United States and Saudi mediators said the warning parties had agreed to extend by 5 days the initial week-long humanitarian truce. The army walked out because the rebels have never implemented a single one of the provisions of a short-term ceasefire, which required their withdrawal from hospitals and residential buildings. Experts say that the Sudanese army general is facing increasing pressure from his Islamist supporters and remnants of the Bashir regime, with whom he had built a symbiotic relationship to gain power. At least 18 civilians were killed in the subsequent clashes.
The United States has announced sanctions against Sudan after leaving 18 civilians dead in an attack on a market in the capital of Khartoum. Maylin Corpus has more.
U.S. sanctions against Sudan target 2 companies, including a pair of firms affiliated with the army. The measures will impose economic sanctions and visa restrictions against people the U.S. says are perpetuating the violence. One of the companies is run by the head of the paramilitary and his brothers. Another is involved in Sudan's gold mining industry. The attack on the market happened Wednesday after the military announced it is withdrawing from truce talks. The fragile truce had been extended by 5 days earlier this week, but it appears to be unraveling. Both sides accuse each other of violating the ceasefire. Shelling and aerial strikes continued on Thursday. For nearly 7 weeks, Khartoum and other parts of Sudan had been gripped by bloody warfare between the army and the paramilitary. Maylin Corpus for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
An airstrike was carried out on a site in the eastern town of Kusaya, close to the border with Syria last night. Lebanese security sources said it was caused by munitions being moved around. The attack was most likely caused by growing tensions between militants in Lebanon and their neighboring country of Syria. A statement from the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, General Command or PFLP-GC accused the Israeli military of bombing the site belonging to the group and vowed to retaliate. The PFLP-GC is a relatively small militant group formed as an offshoot of the PFLP in 1968. It gained notoriety in the 1970s and 1980s for bombing an airliner and carrying out cross-border attacks into Israel. According to the United States, the PFLP-GC has several hundred members operating in Syria, Lebanon, and the Gaza Strip. They have received logistical and military support from Syria's government, whose forces they have fought alongside during the country's civil war, as well as financial support from Iran.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken calls on Beijing for greater communication efforts after last week's close encounter between a U.S. and Chinese jet. Blinken blames the incident on the Chinese pilot.
First, with regard to the planes, our planes were flying in international airspace on a routine mission. Chinese pilot took dangerous action in approaching the plane very, very closely. There have been a series of these actions directed not just at us, but at other countries in recent months.
On a visit to Sweden, Blinken mentions the importance of communication, especially between senior government officials. The U.S. said China declined talks with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin.
But I think it only underscores why it is so important that we have regular, open lines of communication, including, by the way, between our defense ministers. It's regrettable that the meeting that Secretary Austin saw.
North Korea rejects statements made by the United States over their failed satellite launch. We have Bernadette Manuel for the details.
Kim Yo-jong, the sister of Pyongyang leader Kim Jong-un, believes the United States is in no position to condemn North Korea for their satellite launch attempt. On Wednesday, North Korea said its military satellite crashed into the Yellow Sea due to an engine malfunction. This announcement did not sit well with the West and its allies. U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby described the launch by Pyongyang as a major concern. He said Kim and his government continues to develop military capabilities that are a threat not only on the peninsula, but to the region. But Kim Yo-jong claims Kirby's logic as gangster-like. She contends if North Korea's satellite launch should be particularly censured, then all other countries, including the U.S., which have already launched thousands of satellites, should also be denounced. Yo-jong says Kirby's statement is filled with self-contradiction. She further argues not allowing North Korea to launch satellites is a violation of Pyongyang's right to use its airspace. She also vows they will soon launch their first ever reconnaissance spacecraft. Yo-jong insists that there is no necessity for a dialogue with the United States. Bernadette Manuel for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Despite warnings from China, the United States and Taiwan have signed a trade deal to strengthen their economic ties. Beijing believes Washington's actions violated their One China policy.
我们再次敦促美方恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，立即改弦更张，停止与台开展任何形式的官方往来，停止推进并立即撤销所谓倡议和协议，停止向台独分裂势力发出任何错误信号，否则由此造成的后果必须完全由美方承担。
Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning asserts that any attempt to smear China and interfere with its internal affairs will not prosper.
美官方执意与台湾民进党当局推进所谓21世纪贸易倡议的谈判，执意签署有关协议，严重违反一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，严重违背美方做出的仅与台保持非官方关系的承诺。 中方对此强烈不满，已向美方提出严正交涉。
But Taiwan cabinet spokesman Alan Lin describes the deal with Washington as a historic one. The multi-billion-dollar annual agreement aims to streamline custom checks, improve regulatory procedures, and establish anti-corruption measures between the U.S. and Taiwan.
Russia vows to develop oil markets and other industries with South African countries. From Maputo, Mozambique, RT News correspondent Oksana Boyko reports.
Here in Mozambique, one of the areas of cooperation is oil and gas. This country is largely endowed with mineral resources, with oil, in particular with many metals, but over the last couple of decades, they were primarily explored and mined by Western majors, and this is something that local constituents also want to change. One of the Russian companies, Rosneft, has 3 licenses to explore for oil in this country, and they're hoping to take this cooperation further to the areas of education. For example, Russia is giving free scholarships to Mozambican students. They are also looking into development of cooperation in the public sphere. So lots on the agenda today. And later on, Sergei Lavrov, after finishing all his meetings in Maputo, Sergei Lavrov will travel to South Africa for the meeting of the foreign ministers of the BRICS countries, with some other African nations also being invited to attend. So many of those discussions will be continued as he goes further on his journey.
Investigators named Roman Popkov as the organizer of Tatarsky's alleged assassination. Popkov is a Ukraine-based Russian journalist. He previously led Russia's banned ultranationalist National Bolshevik Party. Authorities filed terrorism and explosive possession charges against Popkov. Russian officials have previously named Russian citizen Daria Trepova and Ukrainian national Yuri Denisov as suspects in the killing. A Russian court also extended the pretrial detention of Daria Trepova. Trepova was arrested on April 3. She was accused of giving Tatarsky the explosive statute. Trepova's husband continues to assert that she was framed.
President Volodymyr Zelensky has requested for more arms and Ukrainian membership of powerful Western institutions in the European Political Community Summit, or EPC, in Moldova. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, French President Emmanuel Macron, and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak were seen in attendance. But as Zelensky renewed his demands for NATO and EU membership at the EPC meeting, leaders of the NATO alliance in Norway were divided on the call. In Norway, divisions among NATO allies about the speed of Kyiv's accession became apparent. NATO agreed in 2008 that Ukraine would eventually join the alliance, but further progressions have slowed down to a halt. They even went as far as giving Kyiv a membership action plan that would lay out a timetable for bringing Ukraine closer to the military pact. Ukraine has yet to fulfill these requirements.
While most supporters of Kyiv have been silent about the recent developments in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the United States and UK have set their limits on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Russia accused Ukraine of attacking Moscow with multiple drones on Tuesday. The unmanned aerial vehicles damaged residential buildings. Authorities reported 0 casualties. But White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the U.S. does not support attacks inside of Russia. Jean-Pierre adds they are still gathering information on the incident. Meanwhile, UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly believes Ukraine has the right to project force beyond its borders. He says Ukraine must undermine Russia's ability to project force into Kyiv itself. The Foreign Secretary did not directly refer to the incident in Moscow, but he insists legitimate military targets beyond its own border are a form of Ukraine's self-defense.
A court in Eswatini has convicted 2 lawmakers guilty of murder and terrorism for their role in a wave of protests back in 2021. Duduzi Basede Mabuza and Tandeni Dube face up to 20 years in jail for insubordination, inciting unrest, and riot charges. The 2 were detained after taking part in pro-democracy protests in what is Africa's last absolute monarchy. Amnesty International said the convictions were evidence of the country's continuing crackdown on dissenters. The demonstrations were violently crushed by the security forces, leaving dozens of people dead. Eswatini has been under King Mswati III's rule since 1986, and political parties are banned from taking part in elections. Protesters, angered by economic decline, have been increasingly vocal in demanding political reform.
Violence erupted in Senegal's capital of Dakar following the sentencing of an opposition politician to 2 years in jail. Ousmane Sonko is convicted of corrupting the youth, which virtually ends his hopes of running in next year's presidential election. Tristan Diaz has the details.
Following Ousmane Sonko's sentencing, groups of young people clashed with police at the university in Dakar. The campus resembled a battlefield. Protesters pelted police dressed in riot gear with rocks. Police responded by firing tear gas. Demonstrators set several buses on fire and ransacked offices at the university. Classes have been suspended until further notice. Elsewhere, youths burned tires and damaged public property. Sonko's case has deeply divided the nation. He had been acquitted on charges of rape and uttering death threats. He maintains his innocence and says the president is manipulating the justice system to sabotage his political career. Tristan Diaz for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Zimbabwe's parliament has approved a law that bans criticism of the government. Some opponents say it essentially outlaws free speech. Perla Vashon tells us more.
One clause in Zimbabwe's patriotic bill criminalizes acts that damage the sovereignty and national interests of Zimbabwe. The bill still needs Senate approval before the president can sign it into law. The government is selling it on the premise that it promotes patriotism and encourages people to stop denouncing their country. But opposition critics say the bill is an attempt to stifle dissent ahead of national elections in August. They warn the law could be used to punish organizations and political parties that oppose the ruling ZANU-PF party. In extreme cases, violators could face up to 20 years in prison. Pearl Rogacion for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The United States Air Force Academy's commencement ceremony caused some anxious moments as President Joe Biden took a tumble on stage. The fall captured on video went viral. Anna Cui reports.
White House officials say Biden is unhurt. The president had been standing for about an hour and a half handing out diplomas to the more than 900 graduates at the Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Apparently, he tripped over a sandbag on the stage that had been used to prop up a teleprompter. Two members of the Secret Service helped Biden to his feet. He walked back to his seat unassisted. The White House says Biden is fine. The 80-year-old president says he will seek a second term in office. Critics say he is too old. He would be 82 at the beginning of a second term. Anna Cui for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sources say a federal judge will hear the Heritage Foundation's appeal to unseal Prince Harry's immigration documents on June 6. The Heritage Foundation claims Harry violated a United States visa policy. The turn of events came as Prince Harry admitted to drug use in his memoir, Spare. The U.S. visa policy states that drug use renders a person inadmissible for entry to the United States. If proven, Harry could face deportation. But sources close to Harry has stated that he was truthful on his visa application and disclosed his past drug use.
Up next, 45 bags containing human remains were found in western Mexico. Jordan's crown prince ties the knot in royal fashion. And this year's highlight artwork lights up Singapore's Marina Bay Sands. Please don't go away. We've got more stories when Mata ng Agila International returns.
NFTs or non-fungible tokens have been ringing the digital world louder than ever. Astonishing as that is already here in the Philippines, an innovative company has successfully combined the values of NFTs and online selling of sneakers. In this episode, let's get to know more about Finn Cotton's success as an NFT project and how it has paved the way for multiple streams of investment. Paul De La Fuente, owner and CEO of Finn Cotton, is joining us to give us a sneak preview of his journey as Web3 and NFT enthusiast, combined with his love for sneakers as he opens for business.
We sell representation, we sell lifestyle. That's why people resonate with our brand.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m. This portion
The cost of living in Pakistan is going up. The country's year-on-year inflation rate hit a record of 38% last month. Laila Agbalog reports.
The biggest price increases in Pakistan are for non-perishable food and transportation. They went up by more than 50%. Hardest hit are the poor and middle-class families whose paychecks don't stretch as far. And that has hurt merchants who are struggling to sell goods. After seeing the prices, many consumers decide to leave empty-handed. Years of financial mismanagement have pushed Pakistan's economy to the limit. The country has also suffered because of the global energy crisis and flooding that left a third of its land underwater. Layla Agbalog from Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Motorists in Nigeria are left unhappy following a steep increase in fuel price. Arlene Ocampo has more.
Newly inaugurated President Bola Tinubu announced the end of fuel subsidies in his inaugural speech, but there is confusion as to when the subsidy would be scrapped. Government-owned gas stations hiked the price immediately, tripling the price of gasoline. Many private stations followed suit. The government later said the subsidy would stay in place until June 30th, but prices remain high. Already, some people are staying home from work because they can't afford to fill up their vehicles. More than 80 million people in Nigeria live below the poverty line. There are fears the fuel price increases will push up the cost of other goods as transportation costs rise. Tinubu says the fuel subsidy is not sustainable. The last time the government tried to remove it in 2012, it sparked nationwide protests. Arlene Ocampo from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A sailboat containing at least a ton of cocaine has been seized 200 nautical miles southwest of Portugal. Portuguese police boarded and seized the vessel near the coast of Lisbon. This recent haul was attributed to the Portuguese Operation Monaco, which was conducted by the Portuguese Judicial Police's anti-drug trafficking units with the help and intelligence of the Drug Enforcement Agency and French Customs.
Aquilo que nós assistimos neste momento, de facto, é grandes fluxos de droga para, nomeadamente de cocaína e também de haxixe para a Europa. Mas nós não podemos afirmar que Portugal é a grande porta de entrada. Isso não é correto.
Authorities in northern Mexico have found 45 bags containing dismembered human remains in a gorge on the outskirts of the Mexican state of Jalisco near Zapopan. The police had been initially looking for 8 young people who had been reported missing last week. The bags found at a forest overlook contained remains of both men and women. Forensic teams are now determining how many bodies the remains belong to. Firefighters and civil defense worked with a helicopter to recover the remains from the gorge and plan to continue recovery efforts in the coming days. Officials said the search started after a black plastic bag with human remains was found. It is presumed to have been dumped there because of the difficult terrain and the lack of sunlight. There are more than 110,000 missing people in Mexico, with Jalisco having the highest number, at 15,000 according to federal government data. Authorities have been working non-stop to identify the bodies.
In Philadelphia, local officials issue a 3-alarm fire as a blaze engulfs a junkyard. Firefighters can be seen extinguishing burning cars. Authorities order the residents to avoid the area and stay indoors due to the thick smoke. Local officials say they are still investigating the cause of the fire.
An investigation is underway in Ecuador after the country's attorney general received death threats. Julian Fiesta reports.
Ecuador's Attorney General Diana Salazar has received threats of death and intimidation against both her and her family. According to local media, one of the messages read, "You're having a birthday. I don't want to spoil your party by killing your daughter." Another threat in a video posted on WhatsApp shows 6 people armed with rifles, dressed in black and wearing caps to hide their faces. Salazar obtained a corruption conviction against former President Rafael Correa. On Twitter, the prosecutor's office says threats against the Attorney General and her family have escalated. The government has appointed a specialized unit to determine the origin of the menacing messages. As well, security is being beefed up in the public prosecutor's office. Julian Fiesta for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Jordan's Crown Prince Hussein bin Abdullah married Saudi architect Rajwa Al Saf on Thursday. The wedding was attended by royals from across the globe, which took place in the mid-century Zaran Palace in Amman. A royal red motorcade crossed the capital from Zaran Palace in the center to Husseiniya Palace in the west. The ceremony was attended by their families and 140 guests, including United States First Lady Jill Biden and Britain's Prince William and Princess Catherine. Other notable guests included Netherlands King Willem Alexander and Queen Maxima, and Danish Crown Prince Frederik and Crown Princess Mary. Prince Hussein became heir to the throne in 2009 after his father removed the title from his half-brother Hamza in 2004. The newly titled Princess Rajwa was born in Riyadh. She descends from the Al Sudairi family of Najd, in which became modern-day Saudi Arabia, known to be closely linked to the Saudi royal family. A massive tornado destroys houses in China's Liaoning province. Local officials say about 60 houses and approximately 300 hectares of land were destroyed by the natural disaster. Rescuers rushed 13 people to the hospital after sustaining injuries. In the video, the tornado is seen passing a building, blowing away its roof. Authorities perform clearing and relief operations in the affected areas.
Wildfires in opposite ends of the country have forced thousands of Canadians from their homes. The battle against the blazes has become an international effort. Thomas I. Likeness reports.
Although firefighters in Canada are being aided by the military, they still need more help. And that's why we're turning to other countries for assistance. Now, Canada's part of a 7-nation group that shares firefighters. The other countries include the United States, Mexico, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, and Costa Rica. Most of the foreign help so far has gone to Alberta, where more than 1 million hectares of land has been consumed by fire. Another 215 firefighters from South Africa are expected to arrive this weekend. This is what the fire situation looks like now. The blazes having the most impact on people are in the Atlantic province of Nova Scotia. That's on Canada's east coast. There, more than 16,000 people have had to leave their homes, and many are wondering whether their houses will still be standing when they're allowed to return. The other big area of concern is in the western province of Alberta. Rain and cooler weather have helped firefighters bring a number of blazes there under control, but in northern remote regions, the infernos continue to burn. About 4,400 Albertans in northern communities have had to leave their homes as the flames work their way nearer to where they live. And there's no quick end in sight for any of this. Experts are saying the fires are a result of climate change, and what we are seeing now is probably going to be the new normal. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tokyo State Weather Agency said Japan experienced its warmest spring on record this year. Temperatures across March, April, and May were 1.59 degrees Celsius higher than average. The record shows that this year was the hottest spring recorded in Japan since 1898. The state weather agency cites global warming as the reason, saying record-level temperatures will become more frequent in the future.
This year's iLight artwork in Singapore comes with a theme, A New Wave. The large-scale projection has 14 light installations, including Glacier Dreams. It currently beams on the facade of the Art and Science Museum at Marina Bay Sands. Organizers say the artwork transforms visual data into AI-based narratives. Turkish-American media artist Rafik Anadol says his artwork aims to raise awareness of rising sea levels and climate change.
I think Singapore does a good job of bringing many exhibitions in, but I think such public exhibitions that are free and allow people to see them while they're on their way to work or while they're walking around also helps to spread the love for art.
The iLight event runs from June 1 to June 25. Coming right up, Elon Musk reclaims his position as the world's richest person. Unseen Freddie Mercury memorabilia to be unveiled at Sotheby's auction. And Net25 branches out into movie production with Monday first screening. Catch the latest in business, sports, and entertainment. Mata ng Agila International will be back.
Tech tycoon Elon Musk reclaims his position as the world's richest person. Bloomberg data shows that Musk's wealth soars to $192 billion, leading against the $187 billion amassed by French luxury magnate Bernard Arnault. Musk's wealth is recorded to jump by $55.3 billion this 2023 due to Tesla share prices, which increased about 24% in May alone. Arnault dethroned Musk last December 2022 due to surges in luxury goods sales in LVMH, Moet Hennessy, Louis Vuitton. In France, Space Clinic Meads is preparing for future space flights by hiring 12 men lying down on bed for 2 months. 12 men were hired to be bedridden for 60 days and will assess how the body can adapt to simulated wakefulness. The beds are tilted 6 degrees, which recreates the effects of weightlessness that astronauts are subjected in space. In the clinic, everything is organized so that the 12 admitted can remain in bed. They received 18,000 euros or $19,300 for the participation. The experiment will conclude with a supervised return to normal life at the beginning of July. Another 12 volunteers will undergo the same living conditions in 2024.
Surfer Tiago Costa sets a challenge to himself to surf for 100 days a year in Rio de Janeiro. The wave lover visits Copacabana to catch at least one barrel wave every time. According to Tiago, the barrel wave is the magic moment of surfing, noting that there are different tricks to catch it. Tiago started his challenge in 2018 and aims further to reach 200 barrel waves. In other sports news, the Denver Nuggets wins Game 1 against the Miami Heat in the 2023 NBA Finals. While in the French Open 2023, Coco Gauff and Alexander Zverev were victorious in the second round. Vin Pasqua has the score.
First up tonight, the Denver Nuggets drew first blood in Game 1 as the 2023 NBA Finals has begun. In their first finals appearance in franchise history, Denver has dominated Miami in their first game 104-93. Nikola Jokic had yet another triple-double night to help the Nuggets win. He recorded 27 points, 10 boards, and 14 assists, while Jamal Murray had 26 points and 10 assists. For Miami, Bam Adebayo led the team with 26 points and 13 rebounds, while their breakout star Jimmy Butler was limited to just 13 points. Game 2 of the finals will be on Monday as the Nuggets try to take a 2-0 lead in the Mile High City. Next up tonight, in the French Open 2023, Coco Gauff and Alexander Zverev dismantled their second-round opponents. For the women's singles, Coco Gauff advances to the next round of the French Open with a straight sets win over Julia Graber. The American Gauff defeated the Austrian Graber in 2 sets, 6-2 and 6-3. With the win, the 19-year-old Gauff sets up a clash with 16-year-old Mira Andreeva in the third round. Meanwhile, in the men's singles, Alexander Zverev also advances to the next round as he wins over Alex Molcan. In a dominating win, the German Zverev defeated the Slovakian Molcan in 3 sets, 6-4, 6-2, and 6-1. With Zverev's win, he will face Francis Tiafoe in the third round of the French Open 2023. Reporting for Sports, Vin Pasqua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Unseen troves of Freddie Mercury will be unveiled in an auction in London this year. One of the unseen troves of the legendary icon are handwritten lyrics of some of Queen's biggest hits like Bohemian Rhapsody, Don't Stop Me Now, Somebody to Love, and We Are the Champions. More than 1,500 items from Mercury's private collection will also feature in the eventual auctions in London and online. It will be sold at live events in the British capital on September 6 to 8 and online from August 4 to September 11. Meanwhile, the collection of draft lyrics and other items will be in Los Angeles from June 14 to 18 and Hong Kong from June 26 to 30, before arriving in London on August 4 for a month-long exhibition ahead of the auctions. Net25 branches out into movies with the creation of Net25 Films. Its first motion picture is called Monday First Screening, a film that the whole family can enjoy. Randy Bernardino tells us more.
Ano to, networking?
Monday First Screening.
As Net25 continues to expand, the network has now ventured into film production with the launch of Net25 Films. This new milestone features seasoned and multi-awarded thespians Ricky Davao and Gina Alahar in the film Monday First Screening. The movie, dubbed a senior citizen rom-com, captures a story that revolves around 2 senior citizens who develop a romance by watching free movies every Monday.
Nakalimutan ko ang pangalan mo. Pwede ba kitang tawaging Aking? Flowers for you.
Kapag tinanggap ko ba ang bulaklak na yan, aalis ka na.
The first screening for the day, as practiced in some malls in Metro Manila. Audiences will get to know more about Lydia, the character of Gina Alahar, a newly retired high school principal who immersed herself with a group of senior citizens like her by watching movies at the mall. The movie premiere, to be held via invitational screening, will be on June 12, 2023. At the EVM Convention Center on Central Avenue in Quezon City at 11 in the morning. Not only will it showcase Net25's first ever film, but it will also be an opportunity to reach out to senior citizens through free medical services. Guests can avail of free medical and eye checkups. There are also free medicines, vitamins, reading glasses, and hearing aids. Seniors and their family members can avail of free services of PhilHealth and Pag-ibig Fund at the venue. Also starring in the film are award-winning actors Ruby Ruiz, Soliman Cruz, Che Ramos, and David Schauder, with a new love team to watch out for, Alan Abrenica and Rain Parani. Monday first screening is directed by Benedict Mike. He co-wrote the screenplay with Aya Anunciacion, while the director of photography is Owen Berico. The exclusive movie block screening is sponsored by Regent Food Corporation, EW Villa Medica, Ka-Freshness, Huawei, Precept Commercial Corp Hypo Air, Hamila Aesthetics, ADM Catering Services, Life Extension Philippines, Spectrum Pest Control, Salim Hari ng Tibay, and Goshi Herbal Coffee.
Ano? Pwede ka ba?
Yes!
Randy Bernardino for Matalang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Now it's the weekend. How about a documentary? Stephanie Mayo has her pick.
80s and 90s superstar Michael J. Fox, best known for starring in the Back to the Future movie franchise, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at the age of 29. Now, at 61, he has a new documentary out which chronicles his personal and professional life in an entertaining manner. The film is a mix of interviews, dramatizations, never-before-seen footage, movie and television clips, both unraveling and exposing the actor's public and private life, but most of all, how he deals with an incurable disease. Poignant and inspiring, still is a journey of a man whose optimism cannot be contained and who never gives up in his 3 decades battling a disease that never gives him a break. Stream it on Apple TV+. Stephanie Mayo for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The 4th edition of the London Design Biennale opened in London, bringing together exhibitors from around the globe. This year's challenge was to bring together collaboration by design. Projects from over 40 participants will be on display at Somerset House until June 25, showcasing various design techniques and exploring subjects ranging from the environment to artificial intelligence. In the Chilean pavilion, the borrowed matter installation of the biotextile sheet suspended from the ceiling looks at ways of using wood cellulose to create natural fibers and reduce the impact of logging in rainforests. Some of the textile works are sensory and mimic the sounds of birds and running water, reminiscent of rainforests when touched by visitors. At a different display, scientists and designers of the Automorph Network Collective have worked on an installation that focuses on self-shaping matter, where the medium serves as the artist itself. The Biennale also featured works by a robot artist at a time when AI is becoming increasingly present in everyone's life. It's finally Friday, Gianna.
Friday.
And to end the week, here's a quote from Shaquille Rashawn O'Neal, NBA legend, entrepreneur, and sports analyst. Excellence is not a singular act, but a habit. You are what you repeatedly do.
the art of developing good habits.
Now we know the formula to success, forming good habits.
Forming good habits. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
And I am Nina Richie Elago Flores, wishing everyone a great weekend. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.